Well, okay, but it's the law. We went through the legislative process and enacted it as law. You just did some weird rituals and wrote down what you think. That doesn't make it deserve any more respect. It doesn't make it any more true. It doesn't make it any more valid. And it doesn't mean anybody has any obligation to give a crap what you said or to abide by it instead of abiding by their own conscience. And that's what people, even people new to voluntarism, seem to have trouble with, is grasping the concept of a society in which each person ultimately has to rely on his own conscience and judgment. That's not a suggestion. That's a truism. That's all we have. It's a delusion to imagine that you can ever escape that responsibility. Well, I'm going to defer to the law or this God or some cult. You're the one deciding what to believe and what to obey. It's still on you. So all these attempts to evade responsibility by trying to create something outside of yourself and then just mindlessly bowing to that and obeying that, it's all delusional. The entire concept of law is dictates from an authority, as opposed to just people figuring out what they think is moral and letting other people know, if you do this, here's what we feel justified in doing to you, not because we wrote it down, but just already ahead of time. We already think that that was bad and we have the right to do this to you, whatever it is. And you can agree with them or disagree with them, but to call that law is to give the words on paper weight of their own as if they're anything other than the expression of what somebody thinks. And so it's still frustrating and weird to see even some pro-freedom people fall into that pattern of thinking because they've been in it so long that it's uncomfortable for them to picture a world in which there are just people. There's nothing to defer to. There's no final decider. There's no ultimate authority to settle disputes. There's just people. And people have to figure out ways to settle disputes. Well, this is why we need people are going to cause trouble. So this is why we need a law. No, that's the delusional bullshit that imagines that law is something other than the opinion of people. And the entire concept of the rule of law, that, well, this isn't rule by mere mortals. There's this thing called law. And we are all beholden to it, and we bow to it. And some people wrote that. Like, it's the most delusional religion there is. And calling something law is just an attempt to make something outside of people solve the problems of people. Only it's still coming from people. So you're just taking somebody's opinion and deifying it and saying it's law. No, it isn't. You have to get out of the mindset of, we need a written set of something that we defer to. Like in any other field of thought, people would recognize that as insane. Like in math, we write it down and then we defer to it. What if we find something that doesn't match? Well, the written down words that we wrote down before, we have to defer to them, even if they're provably wrong. No, we don't. That's insane. The whole point of writing it down was, here is what we think is true. Well, if tomorrow you go, oh, we were wrong about something, why the hell would you defer to the version of your opinion that you now know is wrong? And that's all that would ever happen if people fall for the notion of encoding anything into law and then deferring to that as if it carries any weight.